Hey everybody. Hey Leonard. Hey Yen.
Hey, hey.
So how's it going?
Good, good.
Oh, I see Yen disappeared.
Yeah,
I
where
guess
is he? I think he
we already
disappeared
lost
in
somebody.
the metaverse. Oh, technical
All right.
difficulties. Never a
Anyways,
dull moment.
that's right. I'll kick things off here. So hi everybody. My name is Martin Cloake. Welcome to AI in Manufacturing, a series we're doing as part of Industry 4.0 Club. This is our fifth episode. And today we're going to be chatting with Leonard Lee from IoT Coffee Talk. Did I get that right? IoT Coffee
Oh,
Talk?
yeah, that and NextCurve.
And
Yeah,
NextCurve. So, reach out to him regarding either of those. We also have Jan Pingel, a fellow I-40 co-founder. As you guys know, as part of Industry 4.0 Club, we create content like this on LinkedIn. We share on YouTube, and we're also we attend events in person. We were just at the MXO Manufacturing MXO conference yesterday in South Carolina. We're at East Tech May 16th, Tech Exchange May 22nd, IME East in New York City on June 13th. Yen and Leonard, did I miss anything? Any
I
events
don't
coming up?
know, but Yen's not here to confirm that you didn't miss anything or you got everything. So,
When do you post your coffee chat or your coffee talk? When does that go?
we can, quite honestly. So it's usually the day that we record, which is on a Wednesday at around 8:30 a.m. So we
Wednesday?
just, yeah. And so we try to turn around pretty quick, same day. So yeah.
Just in time. Keep it fresh.
Yeah. I mean, everything's on demand these days anyways, right? And we've contemplated jumping on doing a live event, but we're lazy, so we haven't.
Perfect. While we're waiting for Yen to come back, and hopefully he comes back, let's sort of just set the frame a little bit and sort of describe to you, what we're talking about. Again, the theme is AI in manufacturing, in particular, chatting about ChatGPT, which is something that is everywhere. And I guess in many cases, what's happening now is a lot of talk. This is something that many of us have played with, casually, testing it out, trying to see if it's what it is. But I think I'd like to make sure this conversation is framed around our objective at Industry 4.0 Club, which ultimately is accelerating adoption of Industry 4.0 tech.
Sure.
And the way to do that is through behavior change. So if this conversation is effective, it'll get people to think differently about what this is and do something differently rather than feeding the echo chamber.
Right.
So we'll see if that actually happens, right?
Yeah, this is our great experiment. This is our great ChatGPT experiment. Yeah, but I thought this was going to be about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Absolutely, and I just want to set the frame of the conversation. As we get into it, I'd love to get your thoughts on good, bad, and ugly with regards to this thing here, and like the ugly fits into talking and feeding the echo chamber in a way that doesn't actually drive action here. So I just coming back to what we do with Industry 4.0 Club, really what we believe is that in order to get manufacturers in particular to view technology adoption differently, you need to get the voice of those who are doing stuff in manufacturing, those who are actually thought leaders and producing content to educate and inspire, like hopefully we're going to do here. And then ultimately the providers, they play a role. And really what we need to do is get all three of them together. So at any rate, I think thanks for sort of humoring me on this monologue, and I want to sort of jump into this. And I guess from your perspective, like what caught your attention? What do you know about ChatGPT, and is there a particular part of it that gets you excited?
Well, I've known in general about generative AI for quite some time, just because I do a lot of research. So NextCurve, research advisory firm, and we work with a lot of the semiconductor companies, and it's been a big thing in that industry for quite some time, right? And obviously, AI is not anything new. A lot of the underlying technologies that we see supporting or enabling ChatGPT have been around for a long time, right? And so I've been exposed to this stuff for quite some time. And the thing that I think is interesting is the advent of ChatGPT as an application. And I think that's one of the things that I try to clarify for a lot of the folks that I speak to about ChatGPT and generative AI in general, is that it is an application, right? It is not actually a technology. Underlying technology is, are these transformer models, and also a thing that is allowing ChatGPT to be what it is today, which is a public generative AI tool, are these advancements in semiconductors, right? It's in particular GPUs.
I guess why the distinction between technology and application?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's important because fundamentally we need to know what technologies are, the science and the actual capability. Applications are basically an application of technology, right? You're engineering an application. It's not, you're not necessarily like a computer scientist building the foundational technologies that enable large language models to be possible, right? And so when you look at ChatGPT, what it does, it's an interface that sits on top of GPT-3 or 4, and it provides a service. So it's in and of itself is an application that provides a service. It's not.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I see it in that way because in some ways I think, and maybe that's kind of where many folks are struggling to get value from it because they do see it as an application, and then they're underwhelmed by the fact that it can only do so much. And I think
Right.
the potential of that application really is to apply other technology on top of it to make this hybrid technology. So in some ways, talking about, say, a technology that enables you to develop something with software that's even more. And I think what's disruptive here is the fact that this tech itself can enable really useful applications. But I think by itself, a lot of people go like, oh, I've made the haiku. I did my kid's homework. All right, so what now? And I think the exciting applications are really when you take this and you combine it with another application to turn it into something useful. I think there's an important distinction there because I would say that as an application, its utility is marginal if you just log on to ChatGPT and chat with it.
Yeah, well, think of it as like a platform service, right? In a way, people like to throw around the term platform, but in a way, that's what it is, right? It provides a baseline service, a foundational service that people can then build, developers can then build applications on top of, business applications, right? But when we look at I mean, there's a lot of people who talk about large language models, right? What are those? Are they those applications? Actually, it's a technology that underpins is the foundation of these platform services that we see with whether it's Bard or ChatGPT or Dolly or what have you, right? There's a whole variety of platform applications that are coming to market or becoming available to the public. And then, yes, you as a developer can develop applications that leverage these exposed capabilities, right? But I think one of the reason why it's important to kind of think in these terms is, as you look at the applications and what's possible, right? What's the good? You have to understand what is the state of the technology, and that will help you understand, or at least give you some idea of what the potential bad and the ugly could be, right? Because at the moment, yeah.
So I guess why don't we start with the good, and we can sort of argue about what the definition of technology is or isn't. But at some point, I think that from folks who are doing a job on a daily basis, trying to understand if it can help them. I don't know if that matters to them, but I guess you've been around this for a while. There's clearly been an inflection point where more people are interacting with this tech, with this capability. Yeah. Maybe frame it as a capability. And what I find intriguing is that the folks who are playing with it are not typical folks that would be ones to play with new technology. So, say something comes out where it's exclusively something that you can play with if you are a PhD, if you are a developer, and this is one that pretty much anybody can play with. And I wouldn't say necessarily use it in a practical way, but play with it in a way to even get a feel for the technology. So I guess if there is in fact been an inflection point, what aspect of that inflection point has sort of caught your attention?
Well, the inflection point is really is that it's been made publicly available. It's been, think of it as almost like a pass service, right? Before, economically speaking, it was too expensive for anyone to, cost prohibitive to realize this type of capability. And now what OpenAI has done is made it public available. And so now people can, and they've made the interface pretty simple, right? It's a cool app, right? It's fun. If you want to do like a Zork type of, a game, have a gaming session with it, it can kind of do it. I actually tried. I jokingly posted it on LinkedIn that, I'm starting a company called Zork GPT, and, please do not send in your applications to for jobs for this venture, because
I've heard your base salary is $500K for your Zork GPT, right? So ping you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but you know what? The thing is it's become widely available so people can tweak with it. But I think, the thing that we have to be conscious of is the state of the technology, right? And when you look at what people are being told, okay, broadly, is fairly disconnected from from what the technology is actually able to deliver, okay? And we see a lot of evidence of that. In fact, more evidence of that.
Do you have a really good example? Do you have one that sort of like people got duped, or what's a good example of the bad / ugly?
I'm going to pull Rob Tiffany here. See that? I'm really horrible at this.
The Bon Jovi.
No, this is Van Halen.
Van Halen.
And this is a request that I made in DALL-E, and it came up with this image. And number one, it didn't get the number of band members right. And I'm a huge Van Halen fan, as most people know who know me. And half of these guys look like Huey Lewis with a really horrible mullet haircut, right? This is not usable content. And you know what? As I mentioned before, I've been exposed to this stuff for quite some time. In early demos, I've literally told some product folks, is like, do you really want to show this? Because what you're demonstrating is that this stuff doesn't work. It doesn't produce something that's useful. Now, what we do see are some examples where it looks like it does a great job, right? But oftentimes, if you examine the output, you'll notice, like, for instance, with these, I have a photo here where it rendered a person with 3 legs. And
go on your phone to industry40club.com. Just like flip it on your phone.
Industry40.com.
Industry40 Club.
This might take a while.
Oh, you're typing there. Hey, Yen, you're back.
Yeah.
I had a computer crash just when we started.
Oh, excellent. Very good timing. But you know what? You got us on live, so that's and I guess while Leonard's pulling up industry40club.com, Yen, like what caught your attention as sort of this GPT, other than me catching your attention, say, hey, jump on one of the shows.
Yeah, so initially, I think I actually was the one that posted it first on our Slack channel, and I think you then dived into it. And I just tried just some basic stuff around our industry, and was kind of surprised of not so much the content, because I knew the content already, right? When it came back, yes, that all makes sense, right? But it was more the speed of that response. Yeah. There we go. See that, Leonard? Yeah.
Yeah. So Leonard, figure out of how many of those photos are real and how many of them are AI.
They're probably all they are all probably AI, right?
Yeah, all AI.
Yeah.
And like I think DALL-E is behind Midjourney. So if you play around, if you use DALL-E, it's gonna be weird. Like DALL-E doesn't Midjourney is just amazing. Where they're incredible. So yeah, go to industry40club.com and figure out if you can find an actual real person. But sorry, Yen, I interrupted.
Yeah. And so in my role, first of all, we're looking at digital information. So we are developing a product, but at the same time also product management. So there's a lot of content I have to create both internally and externally. So for example, internally, we got market research, we got business model canvas on our projects. We have to do a vision document sometimes, right? And I'm not saying that everything that comes back is perfect, but the speed of creating like a page or two or three or four page content that I can easily browse through and see, yeah, you know what? Okay, I'm gonna change this one, but everything else, it looks pretty. Yeah, that's what I would say. I made a comment when it just came out that if somebody asked me a question on email, both internal and external, that I have to spend more than 15 minutes kind of to draft the response, I would go to ChatGPT and say, can you just quickly draft this one for me? I'll work through it. Yeah, that's pretty much what I would say. Boom, right? And that's the thing that's going to be interesting is it has to be used. It's not just for novices. You can't just go in and say, I don't know nothing about this topic, create some content on it. That's not going to happen. You've got to be an expert yourself, or at least fairly knowledgeable about the topic. And then I think you, Martin, has done a lot of different things than I. You actually fed stuff into ChatGPT or just used the language model more or less. And that's pretty interesting too. Then you can, even take a recording, get it transcribed, get it summarized, create some content from the summary, and then get in a format that you normally would have to spend like half a day to generate potentially, right?
I before this call, I took Leonard's full, and I actually the first time I dumped it into GPT-4, it exceeded the character length because there's so much content in there. You've done a lot of things, so I had to trim out some stuff so it fit into the thing here. But I'm pretty sure that if I could, turn off the content filter, I could do the Leonard Lee roast with like 5 minutes notice.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I mean, so here, this is where I fundamentally go back to is a statement that Sam Altman made back in December, is that, ChatGPT will do a few things well and provide a misleading impression of greatness. And I think that's important for everyone to understand. And even with GPT-4, it's not necessarily the case that they've solved the problems that underlie that statement. And so as I think the important thing, so don't get me wrong, it does some cool stuff. There will be some applications that could be valuable. Okay. The thing is that we don't necessarily know what those are. And yes, definitely experimentation could be something that could help surface some of these value applications. But on the flip side, we have to be very cautious of what we feed these things, especially as enterprises, because there are instances now, and I think this is where people are more the problem than the technology or the application. They've been feeding confidential, corporate information, even IP, into a public chat, chat GPT or a generative AI engine. And that's problematic. And so I think there's a number of issues. Number one, folks understanding what the technology can do and what applications are really possible, viable, and reliable. And then there's the other problem of use of, safe use and proper use. And I think those are the things that people haven't necessarily thought through yet, because they fundamentally don't understand the technology and what it can do, some of the features and outputs. But again, going back to what Sam Altman says, this could be misleading, right? And that's what we have to be cautious of, especially in manufacturing, where we're looking at things that are more precise. Our requirements tend to be a lot more stringent.
I think there's a it's almost like the seeing the tool as something that can replace something that you're doing is risky. In the same way, if you have and I know that you in the end spend a lot of time talking about IoT, but there's a difference between using IoT to gather information versus IoT to control. And I think what a lot of the applications of IoT are ones where we still have a person in the loop. So like when I started my career, I was a mechanical designer, and I kind of saw the tail end of CAD key and drawings into CAD. Like, so I'm sure somebody could design CAD software that says, design me a bracket with holes, and maybe the simple stuff would work well, but the more complex stuff would be crap. And really, what was disruptive was this idea that you could have a designer do that creative part, make sure that there's quality control, and just have it speed up the ideation process. And I think that's the same way. So one application that I played around with is this idea that you can actually create ISO quality process documents from a mash of scary, ugly data. And I as an engineer, I have created ISO documents. I have created stuff that you could probably sit on with your knees at 90 degrees, if you know what I'm saying. Like, it's thick documents here. And how much time right now is spent by people who could be solving problems, doing creative things, doing that stuff out. So in some ways, it's a bit shifting of job roles where there's a certain subset of them that will become way easier. But I think to Sam Altman's point here, and I always question a little bit what a CEO of a tech company is going skyrocketing is saying, because there's always ulterior motives here. But at some point, it's not going to do well by itself. And if you're challenging like one-on-one battle, human versus machine, in this case, it's almost missing the point. It's additive. It can augment. And I think once people start framing it as this thing that can change how you do your job, then they start coming up with the technology plugs on top that actually enable them to do that, rather than just this competition thing, which is so natural for us humans to want to fight the robots and prove that we're better.
Yeah, and I think, but I think what the point that Yen made before he disappeared off into the metaverse again was that you have to have competency and expertise in the subject, but also have competency and expertise in using the tool. But what it's presented
the bar is so low. The bar is so low. So like how many people have
I think the bar is not that low. I mean, if it was that low, you wouldn't have so many people going around, selling courses on prompt engineering. And so you are very obviously a very competent person, and the way that you're using the application tool, you're going through the paces of actually discovering what works and what doesn't. But you're savvy. But I think you still have the ability to look at the output, vet whether it's right or wrong. I think where we have where we look at some productivity detriment is where folks that don't have expertise are just trusting the output. Okay, for whatever reason, whether they're lazy or they just don't have the knowledge to vet the output. But then those types of things can have detriment to productivity, to efficiency. And so again, I'm saying we need to be cautious and not be so sure about something that is, admittedly unknown actually by the people who have invented this stuff. And I think Sam Altman is disturbingly truthful in how he talks about, ChatGPT.
Well, you need to set expectations. You need to set expectations here, and I think, it would be interesting to actually do, because prompt engineering at some point it sounds way more complicated than it actually is once you start playing with it, and it's almost like I wish we should just flip up ChatGPT now, and I'll show you how. Imagine you and I are working in manufacturing, and what do we need to do? Like, I need to do preventative maintenance procedure for a CNC. What should that look like? It should look like this. All right, that's reasonable. I need to put a note up in the cafeteria to remind people to clean up after themselves. Right. Boom. I need a vacation policy for my engineering team. Like boom. So there's these kinds of things where it's like, now if you just think of that, what I just described in isolation, it'll do an okay job. Now, what you can do is you can actually seed it with information about your business. So if you're a manufacturing plant, so I took the 5 pages of your LinkedIn profile. You can take 5 pages and just plunk in 5 pages of context about your business. And then when you start talking about it, it's going to integrate that into the thing that you create. So I would say for those who've started to play with it, it's setting the frame in the same way you'd set the frame for a consultant who you're asking to do stuff for you.
Right. But, I think you're discovering obviously some valuable applications, which is kind of, it's cool, right? I think when we look at the broader context of digital transformation, how this technology can be applied, That's where I think, especially manufacturing, that's where you have to be really, you really need to understand the technology, and especially the challenge with hallucination, and that it's a probabilistic system. It's not deterministic. In manufacturing, we're used to, in industrial stuff, precision, deterministic stuff, right? Now there are some opportunities for innovation up front, whether it's product development or maybe even, mass customization. Maybe, you want to make, produce customized Hallmark cards and provide a front end service where the ChatGPT can create the little, poem.
You could do
right? Yeah, I mean, that's like really simple,
yeah.
but it could be really cool because, some of the poems, some people are really horrible at, I mean, I've gone to Rite Aid a few times and tried to find the perfect card and couldn't find it.
Well, you could do you could say I'm starting a band and I want to know how I should cut my hair, and then you could go dally to show. I should look like that.
Look like this thing that I showed you earlier.
you probably need a bit of a head start.
The Huey Lewis disaster mullet. Okay, yeah.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, so like I would say, as somebody who's gone relatively deep, like I am most excited about the tool as a complementary tool to support what people are already doing. It is I think I'm most interested in the ability to integrate existing data sources and think of it as a tool to index data sources that are trustworthy, rather than a tool to create new data. So I think, but I think you've mentioned a couple things which would fit into the bad and ugly one. One, don't start putting in confidential information into that. That's just not good in general. And I think in a manufacturing context, there's a lot of folks who sort of talk about the wastes, the 7 wastes, over transportation. The 8th waste is the waste of human capability, human ingenuity. And at some point, if what happens with ChatGPT is that people start turning off their brains completely, that is a disaster. Because at some point, like we need to like what we can do is going to be needed now and for the medium long term here. And I think that's really risky, and that's where things are going to crash into walls if people say, oh, this is self-driving cars. It just works. I'm gonna take a nap. Don't take a nap.
Yeah, and I'm going to go back to Yen's point before. You need to have expertise to use this tool, right? Because humans are the most amazing machines. We're the most amazing intelligent. It doesn't matter what ChatGPT can do in terms of impressing you otherwise, but humans are amazing. We are incredible reasoning, learning machines. And we can't discount that. And so when and I love your point, if we forfeit that in the things that we do, the things that we create, and disconnect ourselves from that, I think that I agree with you. It's dangerous, because then, who's going to vet what gets put out there, right? And what gets produced by these generative AI tools. So, but I think this is the thing. It's like discover in a cautious way, right? There's definitely value there, but the thing is that largely we're looking at an unknown frontier. There's a lot of things that you have to be cautious about, and going back to what I was saying earlier, it behooves everyone to get a sense of the state of readiness of the technology. And that's what I do at NextCurve, right? The reason why I don't go around evangelizing this stuff is because my research is about understanding the state of the technology. What is the real potential? What are the risks associated with adoption? What are the challenges? And what are maybe principles for safe adoption, so that, you're using these technologies in a valuable way. And that's why you don't see me writing about, oh, hey, this is the greatest stuff in the world. What I do is I try to balance the conversation, which at the moment is heavily tilted toward, just hyping this stuff up, which I don't think is healthy, quite honestly. Yeah. In fact, could be quite dangerous.
Well, and I think, you spend time on LinkedIn and others, like there's just, in some ways, it's an echo chamber full of hype. So, it's a bit of a challenge sometimes when talking about this stuff to not just feed that echo chamber. And that's why, and I would say for yourself, play with it a little bit more deeply, because my perception of what this was, in particular, after having edited the system file, basically setting the context in a way that's customized, that was a game changer for myself. Just in how I viewed this particular tool, and I think that's but yeah, without question, I think people have to be cautious. I think the kinds of companies that will use it properly and the kinds of technology firms that will develop good technology are ones that have good, sound business and people judgment. So that the capability, the capability you're mentioning is mostly judgment. It's versus a technical capability.
Yes. Yes, the responsible AI, right? It's not. It's about the responsible use of AI, and so whoever it is that's going to be the AI dude or dudette in an organization, there needs to be someone who understands what that means, right? And then there needs to be some degree of check and balances as you examine the technology, and then you adopt and implement the technology within the organization.
And you're hiring for an AI dork and dude and dudette at Zork GPT, right? That's one of your first roles you're hiring for.
Exactly. We're looking for a chief Zork officer.
So Yen, what's going on here? Your computer's not happy?
I think I gotta go now.
Our insights are so hot that they're burning up your machine. I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, I'm doing too much ChatGPT in the background, I think.
Yeah. So I think, I think we're nearing the end here. We kind of went all over the map here, but maybe so going back to the title of the show, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, maybe Leonard and then Yen, and then I can add something, go through what's the good, what's the bad, what's the ugly, what should folks working in manufacturing in particular be thinking right now about ChatGPT?
Well, maybe
Len, you're on the spot, Len. Good, bad, and ugly.
Okay. Yeah. So the good is that there's some potential for value. Okay. So I don't want to be the grumpy old guy in the room saying that everything sucks and stuff. No, there are some useful applications out there, especially on the front of let's just generate some stuff, right? In terms of the bad, it's not necessarily bad. It's just the technology is what it is. It's at state that it is. It's not new. It has problems that have not been resolved, okay, for many years, and there's still ongoing R&D to address these issues, which may never be resolved, actually. Okay, so as you look at the technologies, make sure that you avoid the ugly, which is adopting it to detrimental digital transformation, which is something that is real. Not all digital transformation yields positive things. Some of it can actually yield detriment to your enterprise and your organization. So that's what I would say.
And Yen, for yours, you did excellent. But Yen, I'd like you to refer to specific things that Leonard and I said, because I'm sure you listened to the whole. I want to hear something very concise.
I had my hand into my computer as it's getting it working. But if I should quickly say it's the good, bad, and the ugly, I think the good is that it is a tool, and take it as a tool that can generate content. It has a whole huge language model that knows things around formats of different types of documents, formats of different things that you can now easily put some content into, and you can have it fill in some of the gaps around that content. So a short question can generate a couple pages of content very easily. And then the bad thing is you gotta, first of all, know what that content about. You gotta be almost an expert around it so that you can evaluate, look at it, and make sure that that content is something you actually want to send out in your name, because it's still, we can't always just put a disclaimer, this was generated by ChatGPT, right? That you gotta come up with something. And then I think the ugly thing is be careful around automating this completely, right? There has to be a human aspect as part of this whole process. If you start really, having website that automatically generates content using these technologies and behind, you can get into real big trouble. And then I think, as you said, there's still things we need to iron out. There's different areas of different countries that are even completely blocking it. You can't use it. blah, 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 right? Which is, we got to get past that at some point, because I think it is a valuable new technology. I think it's not, just like anything else, it's not necessarily going to replace people, but it's going to make people more efficient in some areas. And I think that's really the good thing here. I think that's valuable, because we all have jobs where we sit down for long periods of time just to generate something that responds to whatever it is. I mean, we talked earlier with Martin around like filling out RFPs. That's like a whole day sometimes for just that one project, right? And if you can find things that can at least help you speed some of the things up, and just make sure you feed it with your content. So for example, in Martin's example, he fed it with your LinkedIn profile, as opposed to have it go out and just say, hey, Leonard Lee, give me a summary of him, and it could be all kinds of different Leonard Lees, right? And you're thinking, oh, okay, that's not good, right? So it has to be something where you have to understand what is the input that it's taking, where's it coming from, what does it mean, and then look at the output and make sure the output is what you would expect. And so I mentioned before, like in product management, it's all about tons of content we're going to generate all the time. It's almost really just it's busy work that's not needed. If I could get a tool that can help me do some of that with the right input, that's a great advance in what we're trying to do, and something that we can use to be faster in what we're trying to do.
There's a neat, last night somebody posted on Twitter, a VC used ChatGPT to create the investor memo based on all the content provided by the tech company. And those can take a long time to create. So again, whether or not they actually trusted that, probably not, but that's the kind of stuff that you probably need to do, you can do with this. So maybe to start off with the good, I think, what excites me most about this is the fact that, historically for business systems, they've extracted data from people as if people produce numbers, and people don't do that. So then there's a lot of systems where you have to put in a number, type in a number. So like the way to get insights from people, they had to communicate with these systems like with numbers. And then when the insights came from these systems, they came back and they came as numbers. And I think the idea that people can interact with systems, organizational systems, to get insights about what kinds of things they should do to improve, what kinds of things should they do in general, and the fact that they can interact with these systems and feed in insights with text and speech and get insights in that format, it's really exciting, because I think we for a long time we fooled ourselves to think that we are actually good at communicating with numbers, but that's not how we're wired. We're wired to communicate through conversation, and that's what excites me most about this capability. And I guess from the bad, I would say that ChatGPT for me is it's speed. So it's not productivity. To get productivity with speed, you need to know where you're going. If you do not know where you're going, you're going to crash. You're going to get lost. You're going to get scared. So at some point, humans are good right now. Humans are at the wheel. Like don't go in the wrong direction, and don't fall asleep at the wheel, because it's not in a position where that's a good plan. And the ugly, I would say the ugly is just moving away from just talking, because at some point, we want this. I believe that this is a transformative technology, but it's still conceptual, and people are not using this on a daily basis, regardless of what they're saying. Like this, the parts that make this useful came out a few weeks ago, if you want to actually apply it in your business. So this is moving quickly. So it's all talk for the most part. And I would say that getting folks who are actually doing stuff in manufacturing plants, sharing with others, like that's the opposite of ugly. So what's ugly is just talking jargon and just feeding the echo chamber. So that's what's ugly to me here. So Leonard and Jan, want to thank you for jumping on here. Jan, attendance was 50-50 depending on your computer, but I would say it's a great chat. Check out IoT. Actually, maybe give the pitch for your stuff, Leonard.
Yeah, so you can find me at www.iotcoffeetalk.com. It's a show that I put on with a bunch of friends. It's not my show, just to be clear. We are a collective, okay? And so we've been doing this show for about 3 years. It's pretty fun. We just get on and kind of shoot the, Yeah. And then and I'm the executive analyst and founder of NextCurve, which is the research advisory firm that I founded. And you can check me out there as well as my research at www.next-curve.com. I have a newsletter on LinkedIn. You can follow me on LinkedIn right here. I guess we're on LinkedIn. And let's have a chat.
Check out his profile, and then and dump it into GPT and get some
no.
insights. So Yen and I, of course, are from Industry 4 Club. Check us out at industry40club.com. In the next few days, we're going to be launching an AI application from within Industry 4 Club as part of the membership. So when you get onboarded as a member, you'll be able to interact with the AI. Leonard will send that to you as well.
Okay.
And there's gonna be a certain number of credits that you can use to interact with and ask questions about manufacturing. So that's and this is for those who are following Industry 4.0 Club on the LinkedIn. So if you're following it, you're going to get an invite for the free membership. It's free for everybody. For if you're working in manufacturing, if you're a thought leader, if you're a provider of technology. So I'm excited to sort of progress with that and play with the technology and show it to folks and share our excitement. So we will be continuing this AI and manufacturing ChatGPT show until I guess we get canceled by the network. I don't know how that happens here. I guess it just fizzles out. And we'll be bringing in representation from the shop floor, thought leaders like Leonard and Yen, as well as folks who are building cool tech. So feel free to reach out to any of us if you want to come in and jump on and join the conversation. Thanks everybody. Have a great day, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.